Does this sound familiar? You want to write a book but find yourself scrolling social media on your phone instead. Next thing you're wondering, where did the time go? What if I told you that you can go from staring at a blank page to productively writing book after book, just like me? Give me 10 minutes, because in this video I'm sharing the 7 simple tips that help me to write dozens of best-selling books. Stay to the end where I will give you a free bonus giveaway that will supercharge your writing today. When I started writing, I'd do anything to avoid the blank page. Call it writer's block or pro-level procrastination. It really has the power to stop us in our tracks. Now, this is serious stuff. If you dream of building a career as an author that brings you a full-time income year after year, you cannot let this hold you back. I've been making a living from my writing for over a decade, and honestly, it really is worth pushing through it. Today, I'm going to show you why writer's block and procrastination happens and exactly how to beat it. Save this video in case you need to make notes later on. So what is procrastination or writer's block? Well, it's when we voluntarily delay doing something, even though we know delaying it will make life worse for us. We are passionate about writing our book. We worry about the deadline. We feel like failures when we can't get started. And then guilt weighs us down. And it would make us so happy if we could write even 1 page a day. But still, we put off writing. There's a scientific reason for it, so don't beat yourself up. The good news is that when you know the cause of procrastination or writer's block, you can stop it from happening again. And this works for so many things in your life, such as decluttering your office or sorting out your outdated wardrobe. Once you get the edge over it, it really can improve your life. So when you get caught out in this cycle, just thinking about writing triggers discomfort, self-doubt, boredom, or that creeping sense of, what if my writing is rubbish? We've all been there. Your brain, though, it spots that discomfort and it offers relief in the form of distraction. You don't just avoid writing, you avoid feeling about it, and that is your brain's job. It wants to keep you nice and comfortable. It doesn't want to think about looming deadlines that will bite you in the backside later on. If you've ever said, I'll start tomorrow, you've met this pattern. But tomorrow only takes you further away from your goals. And then it's easier to give up rather than face into it again. When I started writing, I hated getting the edits back from my editor. For years, now seriously, years, it would take me 24 hours before I could even open the email. Seriously, I'm not kidding. And I was on a tight deadline. I might have only had 2 weeks to edit that whole manuscript. But there was something in me. I just couldn't open that email edits until the very next day. And why do you think? Well, because I took any perceived criticism really to heart. It's okay, I don't do that anymore. Because feedback isn't criticism, it's just their way of improving the book. And there were always nice comments sprinkled in there too. There were nice people. So on to section 2, the brain science, why you dodge the page. In one corner, we have the prefrontal cortex, the planner that wants to get your book written. In simple terms, this is the logical side of your brain that focuses on the future. And on the other side, we have the limbic system, the ancient survival brain that wants comfort and certainty. And this is the emotional side of your brain, focused on the here and now. So let's say you open your document and your inner planner wants to write chapter 1. But your survival part of your brain whispers, what if it's terrible? Maybe it's safer just to clean the fridge. And that clean the fridge move is called short-term mood repair. You get immediate relief, but you forfeit your book. And the more you do it, the stronger the habit loop gets. But here's the good news. If a loop can be learned, it can be unlearned. And I'm going to show you how. Here's how the procrastination cycle works. And tell me if this sounds familiar. You approach your task, so let's say it's writing chapter 1, and your brain then activates unhelpful rules like, it must be perfect. If I fail, I'm a failure, and people will laugh. You feel discomfort, dread, shame, maybe even panic. And then come the excuses. Oh, I'm too tired. I need to do more research. I'll do it when I feel inspired. So you avoid, you tidy, you scroll on social media, you snack. Relief. That's your first reward. But later comes the guilt, the pile up of tasks, the pressure. And that's the second reinforcement of what makes the thoughts of writing feel even worse. And around the wheel you go. You are caught in a loop and your dreams of writing a novel evaporate. And this is why I place so much emphasis on having a positive mindset in my writing course, Brave the Page, before we even write a word. It's really, really important. So what if your brain really has turned blank and you're sitting at your computer and you really do want to write, but all you can see is a blank page? Well, firstly, you don't have to write from A to Z. Not every plot you write has to be a major one. As I said, I write crime and psychological thrillers, and in the early days of my writing, when I drew a blank, I'd just bring in a murder. The fallout of that murder gave me so much to write about. But it doesn't always have to be something quite so earth-shattering, and should complement, not overshadow, the main plot. So can you think of a compelling subplot that can be threaded into your book? In my Amy Winter series, her colleague, a detective named Paddy, was a victim of domestic violence. His wife was a potential suspect for another offence, so this subplot was a great way of demonstrating her character and what she was capable of. It also gave sympathy to Paddy, which in turn made him a more likeable character, making readers quicker to forgive the mistakes he made later on. Can you see this way of thinking? Not only did that subplot provide lots of lovely extra scenes for me to get my teeth into, it also brought character depth, a potential suspect, and reader sympathy. Now, I'm not saying you should copy my ideas. Please don't. Sit down and come up with some of your own. It'll feel much better to write your own ideas. But it's much easier than you think. Now, family drama is a great place to start. Or it could be that your secondary character has a past that they're working really hard to cover up, or a health issue, or even a phobia that might affect the main plot. And I've used those too in my writing. My advice is work it into your main story, because every chapter really should be moving it forward, and resistance and obstacles are great for keeping those pages turning. So here's how to beat this horrible loop of procrastination and self-doubt. Now, I know this is going to sound really weird, so don't judge me, but when I catch myself putting things off, I think to myself in the third person and I say to myself, I know what you're doing. And just calling myself out like that actually works. Now, no self-insults, mind, because that's spiraling back into guilt and shame. I kind of think it with a smile. I know what you're doing, Caroline. And I think, yeah, actually, get off the phone and get back to work. Now, remember, your writing doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to exist. And I think a lot of aspiring authors get so intense that sometimes they forget it's meant to be fun. You are almost like a god because you're creating worlds and characters and people and stories. And actually, it's a really nice feeling once you get into it. And it's so interesting to see where your characters then lead you as you go on. So try not to be so hyper focused or hyper intense about your writing. And actually, if you just relax into it, it'll come much better. The next time you find yourself scrolling on social media, give yourself 10 minutes to write instead. Set a timer on your phone. So most days you'll keep writing because starting is the hard bit. And on the days you don't, well, you still win. Do it every day and you've maintained the habit. Freehand writing works wonderfully with this. No edits, no judgment, just write whatever comes into your head. And even if you don't use what you've written, you're training your brain to write. You're forgetting all about those doubts, and that is gold. Do the hardest task first. If it's a scene you keep putting off, tackle it for 25 or 30 minutes, then reward yourself with something like 5 minutes on your social media account. If it's a scene you just can't get right no matter what, then skip it. Put a few holding lines in place like, I'll come back to this later, then move on. Oh, when I started writing, I used to put these little holders everywhere in case something would happen to me. And then after my death or something, a member of my family would find my work in progress and wonder what the heck was going on in my head. If you can't start with the hardest first, start writing something easy or fun, like dialogue you're excited about, then pivot straight to the difficult paragraph while the metaphorical engine is still warm. I love writing dialogue. I often write full chapters just of dialogue and layer in the settings and description later on. Try dictating your dialogue. This is a brilliant way of reaching your word count goals. Go straight into the conversation, no tags, no description. You can add that later. It's amazing what will come out of dialogue when you just free flow one character against the other. Work in short, focused bursts, say 25 to 45 minutes, then stop. Stopping on a high keeps you hungry to come back. Some authors intentionally stop on a cliffhanger. In fact, I do this all the time. When I return the next day, I edit the previous chapter and then I'll start writing from there. Just make sure you've made notes if you need them so you remember where you were heading the next day. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Extra bonus points if you exercise too. It works wonders for your creativity. Then write at the time of the day that your brain is at its most cooperative and guard that slot. Choose environments that cue writing, like a tidy desk. I don't know about that in my case. A playlist of music that inspires you, a candle, a particular cafe, or even just a nice cup of coffee to get you started. Lots of authors have their own little writing routines. Develop yours and then you can truly call yourself an author. If a scene comes into your head, just touch upon it immediately. No matter where you are, jot down that line, capture the idea, outline the beat. Just don't let it float away. I keep a notebook for sudden ideas and then use the Notes app on my phone for when inspiration strikes when I'm out of the house. Plot ideas, banter, snippets of conversation, or even the description of the weather when you're out and when it hits you. They all help when it comes to writing extra words. I used to keep a scraps folder because I've written so many books and sometimes I wouldn't use certain paragraphs or scenes, and often when I was short for words I'd find myself looking back in this little scraps folder to see if there's any particular nicely worded settings that would be reused in my current book. Put your non-negotiables in a weekly template. Things like work, school runs, the gym, then drop in specific writing blocks just like you would appointments. If you don't work well with schedules, then what about unscheduling? Instead of pre-planning, just log in every 30-minute block when you do write as it happens. Now you could make an online or even a physical chart and colour in your word count. The brain loves a reward system and you can get the enjoyment of watching your streak grow. And this flips your brain from punishment to say, I failed today, to proof, saying, oh look, I wrote 3 times this week. I write in Scrivener and I use their free word count tool. Get a free trial of Scrivener in the links below. Now let's be realistic, writing isn't always magical. It's going to feel like work, but the rewards are so worth it. I wouldn't still be writing 10 years on if that wasn't the case. Are you ready to take the test? What procrastinator type are you? Well, you're a perfectionist if you are paralyzed by high standards. How do you fix it? Write ugly first draft sprints and then create deadlines that reward imperfect completion. You're a pressure cooker if you live for last minute chaos and never finish your manuscript before the deadline. How do you fix it? Artificial mid deadlines. For example, send your chapter to a friend by a certain time via email. That way you know you have a short deadline to keep. You're a dreamer if you plan, but you never finish because writing gets boring. How do you fix it? Commit. Yes, it's going to be work, but it is totally worth it. You're a busy bee if you do 10 small tasks, but avoid the big one. How do you fix it? Well, pick the worst first, I'm afraid. I am a mixture of pressure cooker and busy bee, but I battle it and win most days. But what if you've been stuck for months or even years? Well, start with the lowest friction. Commit to 10 minutes a day for 7 days. Write a scene that you're most excited about. Tell one trusted person, I'm sending you 200 words by 7 p.m. Protect your slot with airplane mode. And if you can't turn off Wi-Fi, write in a distraction-free app or a blank text edit file. If you want a structure that makes all of this easier, then Brave the Page is a 6-step system to outline your book in 30 days or more with workbooks, tools, and mindset modules so you don't wrestle with a blank page alone. And you can take this course as many times as you want because it's online and you can use it for book after book. My course is now live, and if it's not when you check the link, then you can join my waiting list. And because you watched this far, I am giving you my procrastination to publication guide free. The link is in the description. It's a printable that you can keep beside your laptop. The cycles, the flips, the 6-step plan, the checklist, and much more. Everything we covered today in one place. Remember, writer's block is no reflection of your talent. It's a habit loop built to avoid discomfort. The cure isn't waiting for the muse. It's timed minutes of imperfect action, repeated until you can't remember what you were so scared of in the first place. If this helped, please hit subscribe, drop in your procrastinator type in the comments, and tell me the one strategy that you're going to try today. And if you'd like to know how I became a best-selling author, then check this video out here. Until next time, happy writing.